When physics meets human stubbornness. Captain Elena Vasquez pressed her palm against the cool metal of the observation deck window, watching the stars drift past like ancient diamonds scattered across black velvet. The ESS Prometheus hummed quietly around her, its fusion engines pushing them deeper into uncharted space than any human had ever traveled. After 18 months of journey, they were finally approaching the coordinates where humanity's first diplomatic mission would take place. The Prometheus represented the pinnacle of human engineering. Every system had been designed and redesigned, every component tested beyond its limits. The ship stretched nearly a kilometer from bow to stern, its hull gleaming with adaptive armor plating that could withstand meteor impacts and radiation storms. Inside, 300 of Earth's finest scientists, engineers, and diplomats worked together toward a single goal, proving that humanity deserved a place among the stars. Elena turned away from the window as her communications officer approached. Lieutenant Marcus Chen looked nervous, his usually steady hands fidgeting with his tablet. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the Kalari fleet. They want to establish contact protocols before we enter their space." "Put it through to the main briefing room," Elena ordered, "and gather the senior staff. It's time to make history." 20 minutes later, Elena sat at the head of a polished conference table surrounded by her most trusted officers. The main screen flickered to life, revealing an alien face that was both beautiful and intimidating. High Admiral Zenth of the Kalari Empire had skin that shimmered like liquid silver and eyes that glowed with an inner purple light. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of centuries. "I am High Admiral Zenth, speaking for the Kalari Empire. You are the humans who requested an audience with our civilization. This is unexpected. Your species has barely learned to travel between your own planets, yet you dare to venture into deep space." Elena stood, projecting confidence she didn't entirely feel. "Hi, Admiral. I'm Captain Elena Vasquez of the Earth Space Service. We come seeking knowledge, trade, and peaceful relations between our peoples." Zenth's expression remained neutral, but there was something almost pitying in his glowing eyes. "Captain Vasquez, your vessel approaches our territory with primitive fusion drives and simple electromagnetic shields. Your weapons are chemical explosives and focused energy beams. These technologies are ancient by our standards. What could a species so young possibly offer the Kalari Empire?" Dr. Sarah Kim, the mission's chief scientist, leaned forward. "Admiral, humanity may be young, but we learn quickly. We've overcome challenges that would have destroyed other species. Our adaptability and determination are our greatest strengths." "Determination," Zenth repeated, and this time there was definite amusement in his voice. "How charming. Captain, I will be direct with you. The Kalari Empire spans 17 star systems. We have mastered technologies that allow us to reshape matter at the molecular level, travel faster than light without using hyperspace, and communicate instantaneously across galactic distances. Your determination is admirable, but it cannot bridge a technological gap of thousands of years." Elena felt her jaw tighten. She had expected condescension, but the casual dismissal stung more than she had anticipated. "Admiral, perhaps we could demonstrate some of our innovations. Human engineering often finds solutions that others consider impossible." "Impossible solutions," Zenth mused. "How wonderfully human." "Very well, Captain. You will be permitted to dock at our research station in the Kepler 442 system. We will examine your vessel and determine if there is anything of interest to us. Consider this a scientific curiosity, rather than a diplomatic negotiation." The transmission ended, leaving the human delegation in uncomfortable silence. Elena looked around the table at her officers, seeing disappointment and frustration on every face. "Well," said Commander James Park, her first officer, "that went about as well as expected. They're treating us like children showing off finger paintings to adults." "Maybe we are children compared to them," Dr. Kim said quietly. "The technology, readings I'm getting from their long-range sensors are unlike anything I've ever seen. Their ships don't even seem to follow normal physics." Elena stood and walked back to the observation window. In the distance, she could make out the faint lights of the Kalari research station. It was a massive structure, easily the size of Earth's moon, hanging in space without any visible means of support. Strange energy patterns danced across its surface like aurora in an alien sky. "Captain," her navigator Lieutenant Torres called, from across the room. "I'm picking up something unusual on the deep space scanners. There's an object drifting about 12 light hours from here, in the direction of the station." Elena turned back to her crew. "What kind of object?" Torres frowned at his instruments. "That's just it, Captain. I'm not sure. The readings are inconsistent. Sometimes it shows up as a ship, sometimes as an asteroid, sometimes as empty space. It's like the scanners can't decide what they're looking at." Dr. Kim moved to her own console, running detailed scans of the mysterious object. Her face grew pale as she studied the data. "Captain, this is impossible. The object is showing multiple mass readings simultaneously. According to these instruments, it's both 200 meters long and 2 kilometers long. It's made of materials that exist and don't exist at the same time." Elena felt a familiar tingle of curiosity. Throughout her career, whenever something seemed impossible, it usually meant she was looking at it wrong. "Plot a course to intercept. We're going to take a closer look." Commander Park looked concerned. "Captain, shouldn't we inform the Kalari about this? We're in their territory now." "The object is drifting in neutral space," Elena replied. "Besides, they made it clear they consider us barely worth their time. Let's see if we can find something that might change their minds." The Prometheus changed course, its powerful engines pushing them toward the mysterious object. As they drew closer, the visual scanners began picking up details that made no sense. The object was definitely a ship, but its design was unlike anything in human or alien databases. Parts of the hull appeared to be made of materials that shifted and flowed like liquid metal, while other sections looked ancient and battle-scarred. Strange symbols covered the ship's surface, symbols that seemed familiar yet impossible to read. Dr. Kim's voice was barely a whisper. "Captain, I'm detecting human DNA signatures aboard that vessel, but that's impossible. Humans have never been this far from Earth before us." Elena stared at the alien ship on the main screen. It was roughly the same size as the Prometheus, but where their ship was sleek and modern, this vessel looked like it had been built by someone who understood physics, but chose to ignore the rules anyway. Sections of the hull seemed to exist in multiple places at once, and energy readings suggested the ship was powered by something that couldn't exist according to current scientific understanding. "Life signs?" Elena asked. "Negative," Torres reported. "But Captain, the ship's computer systems are active, automated systems are running, and I'm detecting what might be an artificial intelligence." Elena made her decision. "Prepare a boarding party. Dr. Kim, Commander Park, Lieutenant Chen, and Security Team Alpha. We're going aboard." 30 minutes later, Elena found herself walking through an airlock that shouldn't have been possible. The tunnel connecting their ships seemed to be made of solidified space itself, transparent walls that showed the stars beyond while somehow maintaining atmosphere and gravity. Her magnetic boots clicked against a floor that felt solid but looked like nothing at all. The interior of the alien ship was even stranger than its exterior. Corridors stretched in directions that didn't make geometric sense, and rooms seemed larger inside than the exterior dimensions would allow. Everything was lit by a soft blue glow that came from the walls themselves, and the air smelled of ozone and something Elena couldn't identify. "The computer core should be this way," Dr. Kim said, following readings on her scanner. "Though I'm getting multiple locations for it. It's like the ship's layout changes depending on how we look at it." They found the computer core in a room that was simultaneously vast and intimate. Banks of processors lined the walls, but they appeared to be made of crystallized light rather than conventional electronics. In the center of the room stood a holographic interface that activated as they approached. The hologram flickered to life, showing the image of a woman in what appeared to be a human military uniform. Her face was kind but tired, and her eyes held depths of knowledge that seemed far older than her apparent age. "Greetings," the hologram said in perfect English. "I am the Paradox Intelligence, guardian of this vessel. You are humans from the Origin timeline. This is unexpected." Elena stepped forward, her heart racing. "You're human." But how did you get here? Humans have never traveled this far into space before. The AI smiled sadly. Not humans from your timeline, Captain Vasquez. I represent humans from a timeline where necessity forced us to develop technologies that your reality would consider impossible. We built this ship using principles that transcend conventional physics because we had no choice. The survival of all timelines depended on it. Dr. Kim's scanner was beeping frantically. Captain, the energy signatures I'm reading from this ship are off the charts. Whatever powers this vessel, it's not fusion, antimatter, or anything else in our textbooks. The paradox engine, the AI explained, operates by convincing reality that the impossible is merely improbable. We learned to bend the rules of physics through sheer human stubbornness. When the universe said something couldn't be done, we found a way to do it anyway. Elena felt her mind struggling to process what she was hearing. What necessity could drive humans to develop technology like this? The AI's expression darkened. War, Captain. A war against entities that exist between dimensions, creatures that feed on the fabric of reality itself. In my timeline, humanity discovered we were not alone in the multiverse, and not everything in it was friendly. We had to become impossible to fight the impossible. Commander Park was examining the ship's weapon systems through his scanner. Captain, these armaments don't match anything in our databases. I'm not even sure they qualify as weapons in any conventional sense. The paradox doesn't carry weapons, Commander, the AI said. It carries solutions. When faced with a problem that cannot be solved through conventional means, the ship finds unconventional means. It's very human in that regard. Elena looked around the impossible room with its crystalline processors and reality-bending architecture. Why are you here? Why did you come to our timeline? Because, Captain, the war is spreading. The entities we fought have learned to move between timelines, and they're heading for realities where humanity hasn't developed the ability to stop them. Your timeline is next on their list. Before Elena could respond, alarms began blaring throughout both ships. Lieutenant Chen's voice crackled over the comm system. Captain, we're detecting massive energy buildups throughout the Kalari research station. Multiple ships are powering weapons and moving toward our position. Elena looked at the AI hologram, who nodded grimly. It appears our meeting has been noticed. The Kalari Empire considers impossible technology to be a threat to their supremacy. They won't allow the paradox to exist. Elena activated her communicator. All hands returned to the Prometheus immediately. We're about to have company. As they rushed back through the impossible airlock, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. Humanity had come seeking acceptance among the stars, but instead they had found something that challenged everything they thought they knew about the universe. The AI's voice followed them as they left. Captain Vasquez, the paradox responds, to human will and determination. Remember that when the time comes, sometimes the impossible is just the inevitable wearing a disguise. Elena reached the bridge of the Prometheus, just as the Kalari fleet emerged from hyperspace around them. 12 massive warships, each one larger than her vessel, surrounded them in a perfect sphere formation. Their hulls gleamed with weapons that could crack planets, and energy readings suggested they were all powered up and ready to fire. High Admiral Zenth's face appeared on the main screen, his purple eyes now glowing with cold anger. Captain Vasquez, you have discovered something that was meant to remain hidden. The vessel you have boarded represents technology that threatens the natural order of the galaxy. It cannot be allowed to exist. Elena stood tall, feeling the weight of her species' first encounter with galactic politics. Admiral, this ship was built by humans. Whatever technology it represents, it's part of our heritage. Impossible, Zenth replied. Humans have existed for less than 200,000 years. The vessel you found is older than your species by millions of years, yet it bears human design characteristics. This paradox cannot be explained by conventional understanding. Doctor, Kim looked up from her scanner with wide eyes. Captain, he's right. The dating on the ship's hull materials shows ages ranging from brand new to millions of years old. It's like the ship exists in multiple time streams simultaneously. Elena felt pieces of a puzzle clicking together in her mind. The AI had mentioned different timelines, a war between dimensions and the need to develop impossible technologies. Perhaps the paradox wasn't just a ship built by humans from another timeline, but a ship that existed in all timelines simultaneously. "Admiral," Elena said carefully, "what if the impossible is possible? What if there are things in the universe that transcend your understanding, just as your technology transcends ours?" Xanth's expression hardened. "The Kalari Empire has ruled the galaxy for 50,000 years, Captain. We have encountered every form of technology, every type of civilization. Nothing transcends our understanding. Nothing is impossible once. You possess sufficient knowledge." "Then explain the ship," Elena challenged. "Explain how humans who barely know how to travel between stars could build something that your sensors can't properly analyze." For the first time since first contact, Xanth looked uncertain. His silver skin flickered with patterns that might have been confusion or concern. "The vessel will be destroyed along with any humans who have been contaminated by its influence. The natural order must be maintained." Elena felt anger rising in her chest. After crossing interstellar space seeking friendship, they were being threatened with destruction for curiosity. It was exactly the kind of impossible situation that humans had always found a way to overcome. "Dr. Kim," she said quietly, "can we establish a link with the Paradox's computer systems?" "I think so, Captain. The AI seemed eager to communicate with us." Elena nodded. "Do it. And patch me through to address both our crew and theirs." The connection was established with surprising ease, as if the Paradox had been waiting for them to ask. The AI's voice came through the Prometheus's communication system, reaching every human aboard. "This is the Paradox intelligence. I am connected to your vessel's systems and ready to assist. Captain, the Kalari fleet is powering weapons designed to disintegrate matter at the quantum level. Conventional shields will not protect you." Elena took a deep breath. "Then I guess it's time to show them what humans do when conventional solutions aren't enough. Can you help us?" "Captain, the Paradox responds to human determination and ingenuity. Your species has always found ways to make the impossible possible. I can provide the tools, but the will must come from you." On the main screen, Xanth was giving orders to his fleet. 12 massive warships began moving into firing positions, their weapons glowing with energy that could unmake atoms. The Prometheus, for all its advanced human technology, was completely outmatched. Elena looked around her bridge at the faces of her crew. She saw fear, but also the stubborn determination that had carried humanity from caves to the stars. Dr. Kim was working frantically at her console, downloading information from the Paradox. Commander Park was coordinating with the security teams. Lieutenant Chen was maintaining communication links. Lieutenant Torres was calculating escape routes that probably didn't exist. They were impossibly outgunned, facing technology thousands of years ahead of their own, with only an alien ship built by humans from another timeline as their potential salvation. By any reasonable measure, they were doomed. Elena smiled. Throughout human history, reasonable measures had never applied when humanity's survival was at stake. "Paradox intelligence," she said. "Show us what's possible. What humans do when they refuse to accept impossible." The space around the Prometheus began to change in ways that made Elena's eyes water. Reality itself seemed to bend and twist as the Paradox's influence spread outward from the ancient vessel. The stars in the background flickered like candle flames in a wind, and the Kalari warship suddenly looked small and fragile against the vastness of space. "Captain," Dr. Kim called out, her voice filled with amazement and terror. "I'm reading energy signatures that shouldn't exist. The Paradox is somehow drawing power from the quantum vacuum itself. It's turning empty space into fuel." Elena felt the deck of the Prometheus vibrate beneath her feet, not from their own engines, but from some force that seemed to be rewriting the rules of physics around them. The Paradox intelligence's voice came through their communication system, calm and reassuring despite the impossible things happening around them. "Captain Vasquez, I am establishing a protective field around your vessel. Please do not be alarmed by what you are about to witness. The technologies I am deploying were developed by humans who refused to accept that certain things were impossible. High Admiral Zenth's image on the main screen was flickering with interference, his usually composed features twisted with confusion and growing fear. What is happening? Our sensors are reporting that local space-time is becoming unstable. This violates fundamental laws of reality. Elena stepped forward, feeling a strange confidence flowing through her. Admiral, perhaps your understanding of reality isn't as complete as you thought. Humans have a habit of finding solutions where others see only problems. Impossible, Zenth snarled. We will demonstrate the folly of challenging forces beyond your comprehension. All ships fire at will, destroy both vessels. 12 Kalari warships opened fire simultaneously. Beams of energy that could vaporize mountains lanced through space toward the two human vessels. Each weapon discharge represented enough power to level a small city, and the combined firepower could have cracked a planet's crust. Elena watched in fascination as something extraordinary happened. The deadly energy beams simply stopped moving when they encountered the field around the Paradox and Prometheus. They hung suspended in space like frozen lightning, their incredible power held motionless by forces that shouldn't exist. Fascinating, the Paradox intelligence observed. The Kalari use very sophisticated weapons, but they operate entirely within conventional physics. They never learned to think outside the boundaries of what they considered possible. Dr. Kim was frantically trying to understand the readings on her instruments. Captain, according to my sensors, those energy beams are still there, but they're also not there. It's like they exist in a state of quantum suspension, neither moving nor stationary. Commander Park looked up from his tactical station with wonder in his eyes. Captain, the Paradox isn't just defending us, it's teaching us. I'm receiving data downloads about theoretical physics that won't be discovered by human science for centuries. Elena turned to the holographic display where the Paradox intelligence appeared. How is this possible? How did humans in your timeline develop these capabilities? The AI's expression became sad but proud. Necessity, Captain. When conventional physics told us we couldn't win the war against the interdimensional entities, we decided that conventional physics was wrong. Human stubbornness became our greatest weapon. She gestured, and the holographic display showed images of another Earth, one where the skies burned with alien fire and strange creatures moved between dimensions like sharks through water. The enemy we faced existed partially outside normal reality. They could ignore most physical laws, phase through solid matter, and consume energy directly from space-time itself. Elena watched the horrific scenes of that other timeline's war, seeing human cities under siege by creatures that defied description. How did you fight something like that? By becoming equally impossible, the AI replied. Our scientists and engineers worked around the clock, not just to understand physics, but to argue with it. We developed technologies based on the principle that reality is more flexible than most people assume. Lieutenant Torres looked up from his navigation console with excitement. Captain, I'm understanding something incredible. The Paradox doesn't just use advanced technology, it uses determined thinking. The ship responds to human willpower and creativity. The Paradox intelligence nodded approvingly. Correct, Lieutenant. The ship's core systems are designed to amplify human ingenuity. When a human mind encounters a problem and refuses to accept that it's unsolvable, the Paradox provides the means to solve it. On the main screen, High Admiral Zenth was shouting orders at his fleet. The Kalari ships were repositioning, trying different weapons configurations, attempting to find some way to penetrate the impossible defenses protecting the human vessels. This cannot continue, Zenth declared, his purple eyes blazing with frustrated anger. Order the dreadnought forward. We will use the reality anchor to restore normal physics to this region of space. Elena watched as the largest Kalari ship moved toward them. It was massive, easily 10 times the size of the Prometheus, and covered with devices that made her head hurt to look at directly. Strange energies played across its hull, and space itself seemed to become more solid and inflexible around it. A reality anchor, the Paradox intelligence observed with interest. Clever. They're trying to force local space-time to conform to their understanding of physics. It's an impressive piece of technology. Dr. Kim's instruments were going crazy as the dreadnought approached. "Captain, whatever that ship is doing, it's making the impossible effects around us harder to maintain. It's like it's forcing the universe to follow standard rules." Elena felt the strange confidence she had been experiencing begin to fade as the Kalari dreadnought drew closer. The suspended energy beams started to flicker, and the protective field around their ships began to weaken. "Paradox intelligence," Elena said urgently. "Can you counter their reality anchor?" "Not directly, Captain. The device is designed specifically to prevent the kind of physics manipulation I use. However," the AI paused thoughtfully, "it was designed to counter alien technology. It wasn't designed to counter human determination." Elena looked around her bridge, seeing the faces of her crew. These were some of Earth's finest minds, people who had dedicated their lives to pushing the boundaries of human knowledge and capability. They had come to the stars not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. "What do you need us to do?" Elena asked. "Think, Captain. Think about problems that have no solutions, then solve them anyway. Think about barriers that cannot be crossed, then cross them. Think like humans who refuse to accept that anything is truly impossible." Elena closed her eyes and thought about humanity's history. Every generation had faced challenges that seemed insurmountable. Ancient humans had looked at fire and decided to control it. Later generations had looked at the sky and decided to fly. Still later, they had looked at space and decided to cross it. Now she was looking at an alien empire that outclassed humanity in every measurable way, and she decided that measurements weren't everything. "Dr. Kim," Elena said, opening her eyes, "what if we approach this problem from a completely different angle? The Kalari are trying to force us to play by their rules. What if we change the game instead?" Dr. Kim looked up from her instruments, her scientific mind already racing. "Captain, if we could somehow use their reality anchor against them, turn their own technology into a tool for human ingenuity." "Exactly," Elena replied. "Lieutenant Chen, can you establish a communication link directly with the Kalari dreadnought's computer systems?" Chen looked uncertain. "Captain, their security protocols are centuries ahead of ours. I don't think I can break through their defenses." "You're thinking like their systems are better than ours," Elena said with a smile. "What if they're just different? What if human creativity can find paths through their security that they never considered possible?" The paradox intelligence flickered with what might have been approval. "Captain, you're beginning to understand. The ship is responding to your determination. I'm detecting new pathways opening in the quantum field around us." Elena looked at her crew, seeing understanding dawning on their faces. They weren't just fighting the Kellery Empire, they were fighting the concept of impossibility itself. "All hands," Elena announced over the ship's communication system. "This is your captain. I need everyone to stop thinking about what we can't do and start thinking about what we refuse not to do. We're humans. We don't accept impossible as an answer." Throughout the Prometheus, Elena could feel the change as her crew embraced the challenge. In the engineering section, her team stopped worrying about power limitations and started finding ways to generate more energy than their reactors should be able to produce. In the science labs, researchers stopped accepting the boundaries of known physics and started exploring what might be possible beyond those boundaries. The effect was immediate and remarkable. The paradox responded to the surge of human determination by amplifying their capabilities beyond anything they had thought possible. The ship's systems began operating at efficiency levels that violated thermodynamics, and new technologies seemed to invent themselves in response to their needs. "Captain," Commander Park called out in amazement, "our weapon systems are showing configurations I've never seen before. They're not just energy weapons anymore. They're possibility weapons." Elena nodded, understanding instinctively what he meant. "Target the Kalari dreadnought's reality anchor. Don't try to destroy it. Try to convince it that it's working for us instead of against us." The Prometheus fired, but what emerged from their weapons bay wasn't a beam of energy or a missile. It was something far stranger, a concentrated burst of human stubbornness made manifest. The attack struck the Kalari reality anchor and, instead of damaging it, began arguing with its programming. High Admiral Zenth watched in horror as his most powerful weapon began to malfunction. Instead of forcing local space to obey Kalari, understanding of physics, the reality anchor started accepting human interpretations of what was possible, impossible. Zenth whispered, but even as he spoke the word, he could see it becoming less true. The Paradox intelligence spoke to Elena through the communication system, its voice filled with pride. Captain, your crew has achieved something remarkable. You've weaponized human ingenuity itself. The reality anchor is now broadcasting the concept that impossibility is just another problem to be solved. Elena watched as the effect spread throughout the Kalari fleet. Their advanced ships, designed to operate within the rigid boundaries of their understanding of physics, began malfunctioning as those boundaries became flexible. Weapon systems that relied on fixed physical constants found themselves dealing with constants that changed based on human need. But Elena realized something important as she watched the confusion spreading through the alien fleet. They had the power to defeat the Kalari Empire, but doing so wouldn't accomplish their original mission. They had come seeking peace and understanding, not conquest. Paradox intelligence, Elena said. Can you open a communication channel to all ships in the fleet? I want to speak to everyone, Kalari and human alike. Channel open, Captain. Elena took a deep breath and addressed both species. Admiral Zenth, commanders of the Kalari fleet, crew of the Prometheus, I want you all to understand something important. We didn't come here to prove that humans are superior to anyone else. We came here to prove that different doesn't mean inferior. She gestured toward the Paradox, which hung in space like a crystallized dream. This ship represents what humans do when we're told something is impossible. We don't accept it. We find another way. But that doesn't make us enemies of those who think differently. High Admiral Zenth's image flickered back onto the main screen. His silver skin had lost its lustrous shine, and his purple eyes looked tired. Captain Vasquez, you have demonstrated technologies that challenge everything the Kalari Empire thought we knew about the universe. How do we coexist with beings who can rewrite reality through sheer determination? Elena smiled. The same way. Humans have always coexisted with each other, Admiral. We learn from our differences instead of fearing them. Your empire has mastered incredible technologies by understanding and following natural laws. Humanity has learned to bend those laws when necessary. Imagine what we could accomplish by combining both approaches. Dr. Kim looked up from her science station with excitement. Captain, I'm receiving data from the Kalari ships. Their scientists are fascinated by what they're seeing. They want to understand how human determination can affect quantum mechanics. Elena nodded. And I imagine our scientists would love to understand how the Kalari achieved such mastery over conventional physics. Admiral, what do you say? Are you willing to learn something new? Zenth was quiet for a long moment, studying the impossible ship that had challenged his entire worldview. Finally, he spoke. Captain, in 50,000 years of ruling the galaxy, the Kalari Empire has never encountered anything truly unexpected. You have given us the gift of surprise. Perhaps it is time we learn to think like humans when the impossible needs to become possible. The Paradox intelligence spoke to Elena privately through her personal communicator. Captain, you have achieved something even more remarkable than defeating a superior enemy. You have turned a potential enemy into a potential ally through wisdom and understanding. This is very human. Elena looked around her bridge at her crew, seeing pride and relief on every face. They had ventured into space seeking acceptance and had instead taught an ancient empire that there was still room for wonder in the universe. Paradox intelligence, Elena said. What happens now? Will you stay with us? My mission was to prevent an interdimensional war by ensuring that this timeline's humanity developed the capability to defend itself. That mission is now complete. The knowledge I've shared with your species and the alliance you've forged with the Kalari Empire will be sufficient to face whatever challenges emerge from between dimensions. Elena felt a pang of sadness. Will we see you again? Captain, the paradox exists in all timelines simultaneously. Whenever humanity faces a problem that seems impossible to solve, whenever someone refuses to accept that there is no way forward, the The ship will be there. It is humanity's reminder to itself that impossible is just another word for something that hasn't been figured out yet. Elena watched as the ancient vessel began to fade from normal space, not disappearing, but shifting into whatever dimension it called home. The impossible technologies it had demonstrated were already being studied by human and Kalari scientists working together, turning the gifts of one timeline into the hope of another. High Admiral Zenth's voice came over the communication. Channel 1 final time. Captain Vasquez, the Kalari Empire formally recognizes humanity as an equal member of the galactic community. We look forward to learning what other impossible things your species will accomplish. Elena stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, looking out at the stars that no longer seemed quite so distant or foreign. Humanity had reached for the stars and found not just new worlds but new possibilities. They had proven that determination and ingenuity could overcome any obstacle, even the limitation of impossibility itself. The ship turned toward home, carrying with it the knowledge that would transform human civilization and the promise of alliances that would reshape the galaxy. Behind them, the space where the paradox had been continued to shimmer with residual impossibility, a reminder that some problems could only be solved by refusing to accept that they couldn't be solved. Elena smiled, thinking about the report she would have to write for Earth Command. How do you explain to people that their species had just become friends with an ancient alien empire by proving that impossibility was optional? She supposed she would figure it out. After all, humans had a talent for making the impossible seem perfectly reasonable. It was what they did best.